Good afternoon and welcome to this virtual opening at the Vero Beach Museum of Art. I'm Brady Roberts, director of the museum, and we are thrilled to be with you today to open Chul Hyun Ahn, A New Light. It's a beautiful exhibition. I think you're going to love seeing it, and I'm thrilled to tell you that we are now open for business, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon. We couldn't have presented this exhibition without you, our wonderful members, so thank you for your continued support, so very important to us, especially now. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. The presenting sponsor of this exhibition is the Yella Peter and Derek Fowler Endowment for Acquisitions and Exhibitions. The supporting sponsor is Janet Tribune in loving memory of Don Tribune. The patron sponsors are the Patricia M. Patton Endowment, the estate of Glee and Robert Reese Endowment. Many thanks to all of our sponsors. This exhibition was organized by our senior curator, Anke von Wagenberg. And I know many of you know Anke through her art moments on our website. I also want to tell you that Anke has been very busily planning exhibitions 3 years into the future, so we've got a lot of great things in store for you. She has worked with Chul Hyun Ahn before, and it's been my pleasure to get to know Charlie a little bit in the past week during the course of installation, and we're delighted that Charlie and Anke could get together again and create a very beautiful exhibition for Vero Beach. So I'll turn it over to Anke now to tell us more about A New Light. Anke.
Thank you, Brady, and welcome everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen, and at the end of this virtual reception, there will be an opportunity to answer your questions. Chul Hyun Ahn became interested in space and matter when he was at the University of Seoul in South Korea, where he was born, and where he was working on paintings, and fascinated by architecture, geometrical shapes, and structures in general. For Chul, the canvas was not enough for this exploration, for his own exploration and experience of dimensions, and he started to create objects. Eventually, he made work that with the help of light and carefully placed mirrors, he created infinite spaces and infinite emptiness. In the US, he attended MICA, the Maryland Institute College of Art, and remained in Baltimore, where he is still today, and he explored illusory possibilities of reflection. Chul Hyun Ahn, he goes by Charlie, creates fascinating, mind-bending sculptures that conjure illusions of depth and infinite space, drawing from op art and light and space traditions. In his view, space is not empty, because light within the space creates energy, and this energy can be felt when viewing this infinite space. Last week, I had a chance to speak with Charlie about his philosophy during the installation of the show.
My intentions is creating space and make this space expanded and make it infinity. So more focus on the space. I can use lights many different way, and it depends on the light. The space definition is changed. So these days, lights and space is equally important in my works. Individual color is not important, but the transit between the color to color is the important things in my work. I thought the space and the time cannot separate. It goes together all the time. So some of my works using color change. So when it color change, each color define the space, and when it changes, time runs, time flies. So in that kind of ideas to use color. I was trained as a painter. The many years I painted on the two-dimensional flat canvas or papers. one point, I tried to making three-dimensional box and put object inside. I put the 1 meter and the whole space is doubled and another meter in face, and it makes infinite space. Well, some of my works I call the corridor. It looks really like a pathway. When this infinite space, I can look at it for a long time, and then yeah, it's pretty spiritual. But when you look at it, you try to find something in there, but nothing in there. But that whole idea is like a Buddhism idea. It looks empty, totally empty, but there is a something. I intend to make it, people try to see my works and try to find something through spiritual traveling. I inspire by everyday visual experience, I would say. And for example, endlessly stretched railroad and the building skyscrapers perspective and line of, street trees. All those visual experience that inspire me to make it my works.
I'm here to speak with Charlie about his work that is now on display here at the Vero Beach Museum of Art. By the way, it is a little bit dark in here, but this is to maximize the viewing experience. We're so happy to have you here, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here, and we wanted to have some questions for you directly.
Sure.
So let's go take a look at some work. As an artist, working with light, you were mentioned with a group of other young light artists, artists from like Olafur Eliasson and Ivan Navarro, for instance.
Yes.
So are these artists that you admire, and how is your work different from these other light artists?
I'm obviously interested in space, and I'm trying to make the space, expanding the space, and my goal is give the opportunity to explore inside the infinite space in my works.
That's great. So, and many people refer to you as a light artist, but we've had many conversations, and you say your work is more about space than about light. But light is the medium.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
right?
Yeah. I'm interested in the space. But my work is I try to make it the infinite space in the box. Which box is completely closed, so you cannot see anything inside the box. That's how I can accept the light source as my essential, the element.
So when did you first decide to work with light?
Lights and mirrors. I train as a painter. I painting like a three-dimensional paint, and I start to exploring the possibility of mirrors and lights when my ability to expand the space with brushes, color paints on the canvas, it reached certain limits. So in that point, I started using the mirrors and lights in the box, a little bit, three-dimensional form.
Did you feel limited by the palette?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Well,
say.
let's see another work here. So
Yeah.
also, you and I have worked together, as Brady mentioned, at a
Yes,
smaller
yes,
show
yes,
in
yeah,
Maryland,
yeah.
and it was several years ago, and we had visitors that responded in a very emotional way.
Mm-hmm.
And is this something that you like? Is this something that you like to evoke?
As an artist, my job is, producing artwork and presenting artwork. But the experiencing is, I would say, it's not my work. It's actually the viewer's work, and viewer have to accept and interpret their own terms. and it can be the emotional, or it can be very entertaining.
That's
So
great.
it can be, every individual can be different.
That's great. So you've also told me about an exhibition that you did in Seoul when you went back to Korea.
Yeah.
And that your parents traveled a long way, 4 or 5 hours to see your show.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what their response was, because when you left Korea, you were a painter and you returned as a light artist. So, but they hadn't lived through that transition. You did.
Yeah.
So what did they think of your work?
My parents, they are not any they are not related to the art. My mom is just a housewife, and my father is, totally different, do a totally different business. So first time my father saw my work at Seoul, one of the museum, he told me, "You're not painting anymore? I thought you're a painter." So, yeah, I'm not painter anymore. And the moment later, he find the interesting in my works, and then he looked around, and then he saw it, and then finally he asked me how much it goes for. So he is very interested in my work. And the mom side, my mother is the Buddhist,
Okay.
so she practiced the Buddhism. And many times when she has chance, she told me about the whole idea of Buddhism, Zen, reincarnation, all the idea. So when my mom saw my works, she gets immediately, "Oh, this is about the emptiness." And so, yeah,
So,
they like it.
so enlightenment in Buddhism, enlightenment is achieved through meditation, and I think some people feel they feel kind of meditative with
Yeah.
your work.
Yeah.
Is that intentional?
That somehow, yeah, I live in Korea for like almost 30 years. And my mother told me about the whole ideas from time to time, and the whole like a culture. It has, yeah, we have all culture is based on some, Buddhist ideas and the other ideas too. So my mind has all those ideas exist. So it's naturally come out through my works. Yeah.
That's so fascinating. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at the big train track that you have
Yes. Train
in
track.
stock. Yes,
Yeah.
the railroad. Tell us more about the railroad.
This is the only work actually using the real object in my works. My studio located in the railroad track, so I had to pass over every day. So
Right.
yeah, it's good to see railroad track in the studio and in the gallery room also.
So these are actual railroad tracks, right?
Yes, I lucky to have these railroad tracks from the Baltimore Museum, Railroad Museum.
Okay.
So it's all object in the box is real except the railroad tie. The real railroad tie is very bulky and heavy and like that. But so I try to making very same.
Yeah. So you've described your work as an infinite space, and that's, I think, it's expressed extremely well. And many times it creates kind of a calmness, but sometimes it can also be giving a sense of that people are overwhelmed. Have you heard this?
Yes, many times. The first time people saw my work, the viewer encountered the overwhelming, and that overwhelming is somehow the present shark, just like a magician do magic, and we saw is I don't know how to do it, but it's somehow little feel present.
You feel like a magician sometimes when you do this?
Sometimes I do. And then the people seems to accept the illusion, and then let them go deeper and deeper.
So how do you decide on the colors? Because some of these works we've seen, even in this room alone, have a certain sequence and change in colors. How do you select those colors?
I thought the color and the shape of box and thickness of box, it defines the space also. But I don't have like a special meaning on each colors. More important thing is a transit between the color to color, which is I regard as a running time. We cannot think of space and time separately. They are like together.
They're linked together.
Yeah,
so,
inseparable.
So, but you still like all these geometrical shapes. I mean, there are squares and circles, and there's a circle in a square frame, and this is a circle completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so somebody said when you were speaking of a specific piece that you created, you said it is filled with empty space, and but you said the space was in fact not empty, but you said the space is very full, and it just seems to be such a contradiction to say the empty space is full. What did you mean with that?
That question is the whole idea of my piece. It's a way of thinking. Someone says the half-filled water glass. Someone says half empty
and half
is
full.
the glass. Yeah. And also the coexistence, the yang is coexist. Darkness and brightness is a coexist. So everything is coexist. And the emptiness and the full is also coexist. It's just a way of thinking. The asking what you think of the emptiness full with what is, I'm still looking for what is the answer. That's the main point. Everybody looking at the work and searching for their answers.
So are you searching through your artwork?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't tell answers, but yeah,
Well, it's
searching
fascinating,
for
and
searching for answers.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. But I have to ask you, what is your next project?
The next project is the space, emptiness, and time is all together. So I have done changing colors and or that the changing shapes and changing size, and I would like to I like to add one more element in my works, which is like a movement, some using some mechanic device, put it in my works, and try to make it move, change.
Okay.
So not only colors, but whole thing is try to make it move.
And not all your work is placed on the wall, right? Because
Yeah.
we have a fabulous piece here that you created especially for our museum, the well.
Yes.
So people have to come and see it, right? To
Yes.
experience that.
Yes.
That's
I
terrific.
always say that the photographs and the word cannot explain my works. You got to come to see it and walk around my works. That's the whole experience. Yeah.
Well, and do you want to lastly say something about these wonderful dots here and how you created this?
Yeah, it's
Don't give away too much.
Yeah, I know. This is a series of work called the dots. So I fill up a little bit paint and silver coated back of mirrors, and then the light is behind and go through the lights, and then it deflects back and forth. It makes the
That's a very happy
fabulous,
piece, isn't
yeah,
it?
fabulous,
Yeah.
fun piece.
Well, this is terrific, and we're so happy that you're here at the VBMA until the end of April, and we hope we'll have many visitors. And now we are going to spend some time answering questions from our audience.
Yeah.
Actually, I see that the first question is not for you, but for me. So the first question is that somebody saying here, I'm curious on how you discover an artist like Charlie Ahn. And as curator, I go to lots of art fairs and I go to visit galleries and try to get in touch with as many artists as possible. And many times, we see, I was just really impressed with your work right away when I saw it at the Grimaldis Gallery in Baltimore, and loved it. And so a couple of years ago, I invited you first for a smaller show, and I think it's wonderful that you're here, and I just try to get in touch. I do a lot of studio visits also, which is always a really interesting experience to see where all this beautiful artwork is produced. Mm-hmm. Do you work with a team, or do you work alone? Do you work with So no, each piece, the concept, you make alone, and then do you the actual production?
Yeah, I decided every detail by myself. Mm-hmm. Well, I used to have assistants, so we built the artwork together. But yeah, most of decisions made by me.
Made by you, the artist.
I'm the
Okay, and it seems the work seems sometimes a little complex. Like, everybody wonders how you did it. So this is a great question. What was the most challenging technical aspect of your creations?
Yes, since I'm using the electric component like a light and a controller, I have to think about the maintenance and think about how long it lasts and all those things.
So what kind of light do you use is the next question.
I use the LED lights, and it's easy to get these days. And some of work is I still use the fluorescent lights.
Okay. But you can't use incandescent light because
No,
I guess there's a
generate,
temperature
heat,
issue.
so
Okay.
it's gonna be a little
Well,
dangerous. But
I would think so. The work looks the best in a half-dark gallery, really.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and the effect
Yeah.
of that is just great. So, let's see if there are any more questions. That's probably one of the last. What types of lights? What types of light are in the pieces? Yeah.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
Most of them is I use the LED lights, either LED light bulb or LED strip. It comes out the strip, so I can cut it and adjust the length of lights.
Yeah, but when the work arrived here, we had to actually assemble several pieces, except for the smaller works, and then here the well had to be totally put together, and we're just so thrilled to see this. Here's a nice comment from someone who says, "I can't wait to come and see this in person. Does the image change as you walk from side to side?"
I would say is yes. Yeah, some of works direction is changed. So you have to, walk around. I would say it's not changing. It looks three-dimensional.
Yes,
so
it
you
looks
can
different.
You can see.
Because you think of your work as sculptural pieces.
Yes.
Yes.
At least like a semi-sculpture.
As a viewer, the work looks different from different angles.
Yes, depends on angle. It's different.
Straight in front, it's
Right.
different from walking left to
Right,
right.
right.
So, and then here's an interesting question too, that most artists struggle with knowing when their work is finished. So, is that a problem that you have?
No, my work is not like a paintings. So when I create a new piece, the creation is on the, I would say paper and the blueprint, and what kind of light I use. Size gonna be such a size.
Do you design it on a piece of paper, or do you design it on the computer in a?
I use the computer
program?
sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. But draw on the paper is very easy, and pen and paper is right next to it, so it's easy. And then after that, the physically making the box is easy.
Yeah. Well, it's easy for you.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking if you create your own light bulbs. Can you buy the light bulbs that you use in the store,
no.
or are they a special kind? But you don't make your own bulbs, do you?
No. It's all lights is very easy to get from the hardware stores or like Amazon. Some artists are making their own lights, like a neon lights. They heat it and they bending and put some special gas on it and seal it, and then they can make it, all different kind of
The bulbs are like
lights.
your brush in a way, right?
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite piece?
I heard that question a lot. These are all my children.
Of course.
It depends on mood. My favorite kids is changed, but I cannot.
It must be hard to part with them sometimes, right? Because you're in all these collections.
But usually, youngest one is the cutest one. So this is the youngest one.
Oh, the youngest is this big well here. And you said that colors are not important, but then you change the changing color. Is that, or the sequence? Is that important to you?
Yes.
Okay.
As I said, I regard as running time.
Yes.
So when the color is changing, when you see the red, and then it become all different, the color and back to red, and in that much the time went. So
Sometimes they call it the fourth dimension, right? This sense of
the time,
time.
yeah.
And then there's a question about the best position to view your artwork to avoid reflection. Is it a little bit about self-reflection? Do you have that in mind? That the viewer sees himself or herself too?
No, my favorite position is a little bit side view. So you can experience
Okay.
like a three-dimensional forms in the box more, rather than just standing in front
That's
of it.
great.
Yeah.
We're getting lots of wonderful questions. Your art seems to produce various moods. Do you ever use music with your art? Your work is beautiful.
Thank you.
So what kind of music do you
I
associate?
listen. Yeah. No, I don't use music in my work. I thought that when listen to music while you saw my works, your perspective is getting narrower to narrow, and then it become more like emotional. So I don't use music in my work, but I listen music when I work. Yeah, I like classical music, jazz music,
Okay.
and band music.
And your work is in several museums, right? That's one of the
yeah.
questions. Can you explain where
Uh,
they are?
in close by, the Han Museum, the University Florida Gainesville has one of my works, and Delaware Museum of Art, and Palm Spring Museum of Art in California, and the several art foundation collections.
Foundation collections,
Yeah.
okay. And private collectors also,
Yes.
okay. All over the country. And international, right?
Yeah, and the internationals.
You
And
did a big show in Switzerland, right? And didn't you do that at the corporate headquarters? What was that again?
yeah, we, how can I say? They offer the show in the Swiss Basel Convention Center.
Yes.
So I did it with the watchmaker Movado.
Movado, the watchmaker.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's
yeah.
terrific. Yeah. So that's, I think, one of our last questions. Okay. Oh, there are two more. Okay, here we go. And are you still painting? Do you still paint?
No. I want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there time constraints or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have children. That keep you busy, right?
Yes. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great question. We have time for one more question. So, with respect to the circular piece in the background, is there a single light source going through translucent, or are there multiple lights? Like the circular pieces behind us, they mean. Here, so.
Yeah.
So, is there just one light source?
It's
Or
how can I say? It's that contain about like a 250 LED light bulb,
Aha.
and each light bulb
250.
is on the strip of
Okay.
electric strips. So yeah, I would say it's like one light, but light source is just one adapter from. So
Did you learn about electricity at MICA?
no,
So you had to.
I had to figure
teach
it out by
yourself?
own.
Okay.
So these days, you can learn all kind of things through the internet.
Did you learn this from the internet? That's
No,
amazing.
I just bought a lot of lot of pieces, a lot of materials, and I try to do it, and then when it works,
Okay,
yeah, I
wonderful.
use.
So, are there any more questions, or we're going to say thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for
your
having me.
Wonderful exhibition here. I hope we'll
Thank you.
get lots of visitors, and we just are thrilled to have you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.